Me, 19-year-old male, Amy girlfriend, 21-year-old female, Ryan buddy, 19-year-old male. I haven't slept in 24 plus hours, so expect spelling mistakes. I, 19-year-old male, and Amy, 21-year-old female, went out to the club last night with a group of our friends. One of these people was my best friend, Ryan, who I've known for over 10 years. At the start of the night, everything was going well until I noticed that my girlfriend had become too intoxicated for the amount she had drank. Apparently, Amy and her friend took oxys earlier in the night, which I wasn't aware of until I asked her why she seemed so messed up. Throughout the night, I kept offering and telling her that she should let me bring her home. She refused, so I just asked my buddy if it was okay if we stuck around her because I wanted to make sure she was okay. Ryan has always had my back before, so it wasn't a surprise when he said yes. As the night went on, both Amy and Ryan, especially Amy, continued to get more drunk. I was the designated driver, so I wasn't drinking. At one point, I saw them dancing on each other, and when Ryan stepped away, I confronted him about it. It was weird that he adamantly denied it, even though I was the one who saw it. I decided to brush it off for the night and talk about it tomorrow or something. I was still angry, so I went to the washroom to take a breather and use the restroom. I was gone for less than 5 minutes, and when I came back, I saw Ryan and Amy making out. Ryan knows that I hate cheating and think it's one of the worst things you can do, based on past incidents he knows about. So when I saw him kissing my girlfriend, I lost my temper. I walked over to him, pushed him off of Amy, and when he saw it was me, I punched him in the jaw, causing him to fall over. I immediately jumped on him and managed to get one more hit in before security grabbed me. Since I was sober, I explained what happened, and they kicked me out for the rest of the night. As I was leaving, Ryan asked if he could come with me and explain himself. I shoved him away and told him to FCK off, but he kept trying to follow me. I warned security not to let him follow me, or I would fight him outside where they wouldn't be able to stop me. One security guard stayed behind to ensure he didn't come with me, and when I got outside, I immediately drove home. I texted Ryan saying, "Great way to end a friendship," and I haven't heard from him since. I've known Ryan for half my life, and have been closer to him than my own family for the past 5 years. And now it's all over. Whenever I think about it, my chest hurts and I feel sick to my stomach. I honestly can't believe what happened. I also texted Amy saying, "We will be talking on Monday and what you did was beyond low." She texted back, apologizing, but I haven't responded. I have blocked Ryan and I plan to block Amy after Monday. The whole reason we went to the club was because I was laid off last Tuesday, and I just wanted to go out and relax with friends. Instead, I lost both my best friend and girlfriend. I hate this whole situation and dread waking up tomorrow. I want to know what I did wrong or what I should have done, because I believe Ryan definitely deserved to be punched in the face. And if I could redo it, I would do the same thing. So, am I the idiot? Edit, I will update tomorrow after I talk with Ryan and Amy. Edit, I'm going to explain some things more now that I'm awake and can see people's comments. 1. Thank you everyone for your support. It made my morning. I woke up to a lot of great advice and corrections that I could have done. 2. I definitely was not trying to make excuses for Amy, but I can see how I was letting her off the hook a bit because of the pills. However, overall, what Ryan did hurt me a lot more, so the post was more focused on that. 3. In the post, I worded it like me and Amy are still dating, but we are not. She knows how I feel about cheating, so in my mind, we are already over. I'm only meeting Amy today so I can get my PS4 and hoodies, and after that, I will be blocking her as well. 4. I don't do hard drugs, and I don't drink often, but I smoke every night to help me sleep. I don't trust Amy enough anymore to be truthful about her drug use, so I can't speak much about that. From what I know and see, she does drink regularly, and I know she has taken Molly a few times. 5. I am already investing and have an emergency fund set up. The industry I work in is in need of workers, and I already have an interview lined up and will continue to apply. I wasn't depressed about being laid off. It was just a stressful situation that I was easily able to fix. But it was initially the reason for going out. 6. I have a PS5 and a PS4. Update will come out after I meet Amy today and speak with Ryan on the phone. Update 1. Amy's best friend contacted me and confirmed that she had been cheating on me with multiple different guys. Last night, apparently Amy and Ryan hung out with some other people at the bar, and I'm assuming more happened afterward. As soon as I get my PS4, I will be cutting her off, and I definitely won't be contacting Ryan. If I find more information, I'll update you guys before I talk with Amy tomorrow. Now for a few comments before the update, comment 1. I dated a girl once who liked to drink on OxyContin. I came home from work one night and she was dead in my bed. I tried CPR while calling paramedics. She didn't make it and I still have nightmares about it 15 years after the event. You're young. You don't need to surround yourself with friends like this. The women worth keeping don't engage in these actions. The best men at weddings don't toast about that time he made out with your wife while you had your back turned. There's a big difference between dancing and dry humping to a DJ. I recommend you sign yourself up for a dancing class. Salsa, ballroom, swing, whatever. You'll make new friends, you'll learn a new skill that will attract the right people. And you might meet a new girlfriend who'll want to dance with you rather than your friends. There are so many red flags in all of this. Get out of this lifestyle before it's too late. Comment 2. Why are you giving Amy so much leeway and grace when she is the one who cheated on you? It sounds like they were both incredibly drunk, so any excuse you give her applies to him too. He deserved to get punched, and I wouldn't forgive either of them. But it is strange that you won't even hear him out yet you treated Amy so lightly. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around. So, here's what went down. The day after the club incident, I was still reeling from the betrayal. I was supposed to meet Amy to get my stuff back, but before that could happen, I got a call from my mom. She was crying, saying that my dad had been rushed to the hospital with a heart attack. I forgot about everything else and raced over there. It was touch and go for a while, but thankfully he pulled through. The doctors said it was a miracle he survived. While I was at the hospital, Amy kept blowing up my phone, apologizing, saying she needed to explain in person. I ignored her messages. My dad's health was my priority. But she didn't give up. She showed up at the hospital. I couldn't believe it. She caused a scene, crying and begging for forgiveness in front of my family. My mom, who didn't know what had happened, thought we were having a lover's quarrel and told me to be kind. I was so embarrassed, I just took Amy outside to avoid further drama. Once we were alone, Amy dropped a news. She was pregnant. And she claimed it was mine. I was in shock. I didn't know what to believe. She was crying, saying she made a mistake and that the baby changed everything. I didn't have the heart to deal with it right then. So I just told her we'd talk later and went back to my dad. The next day, things got even crazier. Ryan showed up at my house unannounced. He looked like a mess, remorse written all over his face. He said he needed to talk, that it was urgent. I didn't want to hear it, but he wouldn't leave. He confessed that the night at the club wasn't the first time he and Amy had been together. He said he felt terrible and that he'd do anything to make it right. I was so angry, I told him to get lost and that there was no making this right. But Ryan had more to say. He told me that Amy had been using me, that she was known for playing guys. He had proof, messages and photos she'd sent him, and others, while we were together. It was like a punch to the gut. I felt like a fool. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was right there. I confronted Amy with what Ryan had told me. She broke down, admitting it was true. She said she was sorry, that she didn't mean to hurt me, but she was scared and confused about the pregnancy. I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to support her because of the baby, but another part of me hated her for lying and cheating. I told her I needed time to think and that we'd get a paternity test. She agreed, but I could tell she was scared. I was too. The thought of being tied to her forever because of a child was overwhelming. In the midst of all this, my dad's condition worsened. He had another heart attack, and this time, he didn't make it. I was devastated. My world was falling apart. Amy tried to be there for me, but I couldn't stand to look at her. I felt like everything was a lie. The funeral was a blur. I saw Ryan there, keeping his distance. He looked like he wanted to say something, but I ignored him. I couldn't deal with any more apologies or excuses. After the funeral, I went home and found Amy waiting for me. She had the results of the paternity test. It wasn't mine. I felt a mix of relief and anger. She cried, saying she didn't know how it happened. that she must have made a mistake with the dates. I didn't care. I told her to leave and never come back. So here I am, having lost my best friend, my girlfriend, and my dad in the span of a few days. I'm numb. I don't know what to do with myself. I keep thinking I should have seen the signs, that I should have known better. But I didn't. And now I'm paying the price. Thanks for reading. My mother-in-law's nursing home staff ignore my visits and mistreat me, so I expose their negligence and shut the place down. The staff of the state-funded nursing home in question still forgets, after 5 years, that it's my mother-in-law and not my mom who is a resident there. And she is not my mother-in-law anymore, as I, 53-year-old male, just had to deal with the loss of my wife, 50-year-old female, of 23 years to cancer. Before she got sick, she insisted that we go visit her mom every other week because her 2 brothers, 45-year-old male and 41-year-old male, say their wives would rather they spend their weekends doing family time with their own family. Her mom has had long-term chronic health issues that I don't want to get into, but they caused her ex to file for divorce. However, during healthier times, I still will never forget how she treated me when my wife and I first started seeing each other. She spent the first night we met Pearl clutching about the fact that I did not want to talk about my family because my dad worked all the time. My mom was a control freak I cut contact with at 19, and my sister was diagnosed with BPD and tried to publicly slander me to coworkers when I suggested she get help. That got us off on the wrong foot, to say the least. She never dropped the performative astonishment over the fact that I didn't grow up with many close relationships. She thinks you can't be a great partner if you don't come from a strong parental bond. I was tired of comments like, "But that's your mom, don't you love her?" When 2020 hit and my job went fully remote, she had the audacity to say, "So your company is not one where people have a place to go to work?" I put up with her because I valued my wife's happiness. I'm now trying to rebuild my life in the year since she passed. My mother-in-law is now complaining that the staff are sarcastic, etc., which is the same thing she said about me. Again, the staff saw us every other week and still forget, despite being told many times, that she's not my mom but my wife's mom. I know my late wife wanted me to go see her mom because I refused to use money my son could inherit to pay for a visiting service, period. So I go, and one of the staff starts ranting about how it's rude to stop by unannounced, despite it being visiting hours. She then says to be mindful, I should set up a time at least a few days in advance to visit and to not show up early or late. She was so rude, acting like her booking me a visit with my mother-in-law was doing me a favor, and she'd revoke it if I didn't bow down to her. I went to see my mother-in-law, and she just fills the time with complaints about abandonment, and once again implies I'm lesser for not growing up with parental attachments. I realized I had enough, and was angry enough that I stormed out. The staff members started rather abrasively asking if I was going to visit at the scheduled time next month, so I told her I was done. That, as she and the people underneath her always forget, she's not my mom, but my late wife's, and she'll never see me here again. She backtracked and apologized for being short with me and asked if I was sure. I said yes, and she said okay and told me the best of luck. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Mother-in-law made her bed. Now she can lie in it. Protect your own happiness and sanity. Focus on your son and loved ones. She has made it clear that there is no love between you, so she does not make the cut. So sorry about the loss of your wife. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Send an email to your wife's brothers and mother-in-law care coordinator that you will be taking a step back from visiting and being the contact for mother-in-law, and all communication should go directly to her sons. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, where do I even start? The past month has been pretty tough, and not the fun kind. After I stormed out of the nursing home, I thought that would be the end of it. But life had other plans. My brother-in-law, the younger one, let's call him Mark, decided to step in. He's always been the smooth talker of the family, the one who could sell ice to Eskimos. Mark called me up, all concerned, saying he heard about the misunderstanding at the nursing home. He offered to mediate to help smooth things over. I should have known better. Mark set up a meeting with the staff, and we all sat down to talk. He was all charm, smoothing over the staff's ruffled feathers, making promises left and right. The staff member who'd been rude to me even brought in a tray of cookies, like that was going to fix everything. I was skeptical, but Mark insisted this was for the best, for the family. So I agreed to give it another shot for my late wife's sake. But then things started to get weird. I noticed money was missing from my account. Not a lot, just small amounts here and there, but it was often. I called the bank, and they said it was a series of small donations to the nursing home, donations I never authorized. When I confronted the staff, they were clueless. They suggested maybe it was a mix-up, but I had a sinking feeling. I went to Mark, and he acted shocked, said he'd help me get to the bottom of it. But days turned into weeks and nothing. Every time I asked, he had some excuse. Meanwhile, the donations kept happening. I was getting frustrated, and that's when I caught him. I went to his house unannounced, and there he was, on the phone, giving my bank details to someone. He was the one taking the money. I was furious. I confronted him, and he tried to spin some story about how it was all a misunderstanding, how he was trying to help the nursing home in my name, to honor my late wife. But I wasn't buying it. I realized then that Mark had been playing me all along. He saw an opportunity in my grief and took it. I demanded he pay back every penny, and I threatened legal action. That got his attention. He agreed, but I could see the wheels turning in his head, trying to figure out his next move. I didn't care. I just wanted my money back and to cut ties with him. Just when I thought I could breathe again, another bomb dropped. My mother-in-law fell ill, seriously ill. It was sudden, and the nursing home was in a frenzy. They called me, despite everything, because I was still technically family. I rushed over, not knowing what to expect. When I got there, she was pale, barely conscious. The staff were running around, trying to stabilize her. And there was Mark, looking like the concerned son, but I could see the guilt in his eyes. He knew this was partly his fault. The stress of the money, the lies, it had taken a toll on her already fragile health. She pulled through, thank God. But it was a wake-up call for everyone. Mark was exposed and the family was in shambles. I stayed by her side until she was stable, but I kept my distance from Mark. I couldn't even look at him without feeling a mix of anger and pity. In the end, I got my money back. Mark was shunned by the family, and he had to deal with the consequences of his actions. I still visit my mother-in-law, but now I make sure everything is documented. No more informal agreements. I learned my lesson the hard way. And that's the update. It's been a rough month, but I'm getting through it one day at a time. Thanks for reading. My high school crush rejected me for being ugly. But after I transformed, she came crawling back. So I exposed her lies at our friend's biggest party and watched her reputation crumble. I, 24-year-old male, used to be quite ugly in the past. I still don't think I'm good looking. But when I was like 15 to 22 years old, I used to be out of shape, had thinning hair, an awful stutter that made social situations awkward, and wasn't great at grooming. Something clicked when I was 22, and I decided I needed to change. I got a gym membership, stopped eating delivery as often as I did, hopped on minoxidil, and started talking to strangers as a way to get better at handling my stutter. It took a while, but now at 24, I'm in much better shape, my hair is better, I'm very clean and practice regular grooming and skincare, and better at social situations, although I still have anxiety. As a backstory, when I was 21, I met this girl, 22-year-old female now, 18 at the time, who I really liked. Long story short, after spending time with her in a group setting for about a month, I asked her out. Did not go well. To keep it short, she said no relatively politely, but heard from other friends in the group that she talked badly about me afterwards. Ouch. This weekend, I was at a house party. I was actually designated driver for my friends whom I drove there. I was having a decent time when I ran into the girl from before. 4 years later, she's still really gorgeous, but I had some feelings of animosity. And of course she, just like others, talked about, "Oh, you've changed so much, I don't recognize you, tee-hee." We talked for about 20 minutes. Well, she dominated most of the conversation. She was also clearly drunk. Honestly, it's a weird feeling because I would totally have intimacy with her, but knowing the things she said about me behind my back just unalives all my desire. As I'm about to leave to drive someone home, she grabs my arm and says we should hang out, to which I quickly respond by moving my arm away and loudly telling her to Get the frick away from me." She looks shocked, and I tell her I know how she felt about me before, and that this newfound infatuation is fake. Then she starts crying and her friend gets upset at me. 2 days ago, I got an angry message from another one of her friends who told me I was being petty by holding something she said as a teenager against her and that I need to move on. My female friends all agree. My male friends, on the other hand, agree with me, although some of them said I should just hit her up and keep her as a friends with benefits. I'm not a confrontational guy, so I do feel bad about making her cry. Part of me wants to apologize while another part tells me to have self-respect. Also, despite getting more female attention than before, I'm still socially challenged, as described by my brother, so I've never really capitalized on it. This girl was practically throwing herself at me, so I wonder if I should have been less petty. Some of you were asking what she said back in the day. She called me a Goomba, said asking her out made her confidence drop, and some borderline discriminatory stuff. I don't think she's actually discriminatory since her ex was half Indian, or I don't know, man. LOL. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You say she's gorgeous, so obviously you liked her because you were physically attracted to her. You wouldn't have been attracted to her if she did the same things you were doing, being out of shape, not grooming herself, etc. So you're allowed to want someone attractive, but she's not. You start taking care of yourself. Of course, more people are going to be attracted to you. That's a harsh fact of life. I'm sure it was painful being rejected, but she's allowed to want someone attractive just like you wanted someone attractive. It sounds like her rejection was one of the things that motivated you to better your situation. Comment 2. Guy friends, on the other hand, agree with me, although some of them said I should just hit her up and keep her as an FWB. You have some very gross friends. You asked her out. She politely rejected you. You only have the word of third parties that she was insulting behind your back. You don't get a medal or a pat on the head because you didn't take advantage of a drunk woman. You also don't need to worry about her wanting to spend time with you in the future. No matter what you look like on the outside, you're free to reject anyone for any reason, but the way you've written this gives the ick. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. They really got me thinking. So, the day after the party, I was still feeling pretty raw about the whole thing. I was at the gym trying to sweat out the anger when I saw her again. Yeah, the same girl. Turns out she joined my gym a few weeks back. I couldn't believe it. I kept my distance, but she came over to me, all apologetic, saying she was sorry for what happened at the party and for what she said years ago. She seemed sincere, but I was still on edge. I brushed her off, saying I needed to focus on my workout, but she persisted, saying she wanted to make it up to me. She suggested we go for coffee after our workouts. I was hesitant, but I figured maybe it was time to let bygones be bygones. So I agreed. We sat down at a nearby cafe, and she started telling me about her life since high school. She'd had a rough time, family issues, dropped out of college, a string of bad relationships. She said she'd changed a lot and realized how mean she'd been. I started to feel a bit sorry for her. We ended up talking for a couple of hours, and it was actually nice. The next day, she texted me asking if I wanted to hang out again. I was surprised, but thought, why not? Maybe this could be a fresh start. We met up and went for a walk in the park. That's when things took a turn. She started asking about my friends, the ones I'd driven to the party. She was particularly interested in my best friend, who's got a pretty successful startup. I found it odd, but didn't think much of it. We talked more, and she was flirting a lot, touching my arm, laughing at my jokes. I won't lie, it felt good to have her attention after all this time. But then, yesterday, I found out why she was really interested in hanging out. My best friend called me furious. He'd gotten a message from her saying I'd been talking trash about his business, saying it was bound to fail and that I was only friends with him for his money. I was shocked. I'd never said anything like that. It was a complete lie. I confronted her about it, and she just shrugged, saying she thought it would be funny to stir up some drama. She said she didn't think it would be a big deal since we were all adults now. I was so angry, I couldn't even speak. I just walked away. I told my best friend the truth, and he believed me. But now there's this weird tension in our group. Some people think I did say those things, and others are taking my side. It's a mess. I can't believe I fell for her act. I thought she'd changed, but she's still the same person who made fun of me all those years ago. I'm done with her for good now. I've learned my lesson about trusting people too easily. Anyway, thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.